Today we're going to be diving into this super fun off-meta overpower flurry rogue build in Diablo 4. This is an insanely creative build that basically allows you to face smash your keyboard and spam all of your cooldowns constantly to deal some crazy damage but also stay extremely tanky at the same time. It offers a super fun fast-paced playstyle where you'll be jumping in, flurrying everything and spamming all of your skills off cooldown. So if you fancy a bit of carpal tunnel and a ton of fun, then keep watching. Now just before we get into it, let's check out the brains behind it. And this build guide here was brought to us by one of our creators, FastAF, and he got the inspiration from this D4 YouTuber named Xakary. So make sure you check those guys out by clicking the links in the description. Thanks as well to Sanctum, who's our rogue expert, and he's helped us out by providing all the relevant footage for us. So make sure you check out his stream if you haven't already. Right, well let's get into the fun stuff now, and start off with the skill tree. The main skills you'll be building around are Death Trap and Flurry, and you'll also spec into Concealment, Smoke Grenade, Cold Imbuement, and Caltrops. To break it down into specifics though, first up at the top here we have 1 point in Blade Shift and then Enhanced Blade Shift to be able to access the core skill tree. As this build is based around Flurry, we dump 5 points into Flurry and also spec into Enhanced and Improved Flurry for more damage, mobility, and sustain. Don't forget about 3 points into Target Practice for more crit, 3 points in Sturdy for DR, and tap 1 point into Siphoning Strikes for a chance of some extra survivability too. Moving down, we're going to put 1 point into Caltrops and then Enhanced and Disciplined Caltrops for again more mobility and more damage, a common theme throughout this guide. We're also going to be maxing out Weapon Mastery, Unstable Elixirs, and Trick Attacks too. Then we go down into the next skill tree and put 1 point into Concealment along with Enhanced and Subverting for energy regen and more damage. Plus 1 point into Smoke Grenade all the way up to Subverting Smoke Grenade for more damage and damage amplification. Then we're going to move further down the tree to our Imbuements and take Cold Imbuement to chill your enemies and Enhanced and Mixed Cold Imbuement to make enemies vulnerable and deal extra damage to CC'd enemies. We'll also spec 1 point into Deadly Venom and 2 points into Alchemical Advantage, as this is probably the best skill to dump your spare points into. We'll also add 3 points in Frigid Finesse to deal increased damage to all enemies that will chill with that Cold Imbuement. Moving down to the final part of the skill tree then, and we're going to max out Death Trap as our ultimate skill, but only take Prime Death Trap to pull enemies into it. We also take 3 points in Trap Mastery for more damage and 3 points of Aftermath for some sustain and energy regen. The last passive we want to activate in the ultimate skill tree is Second Wind with 3 points, followed by 3 points into Haste for some shielding, extra movement and attack speed, and finally don't forget about your key passive either in Momentum. For your specialization, you want to run Preparation to make it restore your cooldowns whenever you place a Death Trap, which we're going to be doing a lot. Next up for your Mercenaries, the main one is Rahir, where you want to stay on the left side of the tree, where you want to pick Aldkin as your secondary mercenary with Field of Languish triggering your most important core skill, Flurry. Now let's take a look at some gear, and since this is a niche off-meta build, it does require you to have some uniques. The most important unique for this build is your Banished Lord's Talisman Amulet, because its effect makes it possible to play this overpowered style that we want to run. It'll guarantee your Flurry skill to overpower once you've spent a good chunk of your resource, which we're doing on a constant basis as we mash all of our skills off cooldown all of the time. After that, you ideally want to gear yourself up with Ring of Starless Skies to be able to spam your skills more often without having to worry about not having enough resource gauge. Your Beastfall boots are also a core part of this build, as they make Flurry consume all of your energy to make it deal tons more damage. The other 4 uniques in this build are simply nice to have too, with a Harlequin Quest on your helmet, Shroud of False Death on your chest, T-Bolt's Will on your pants, and the Doombringer dagger in one hand. As for aspects, have Breakneck Bandit's aspect on your gloves, aspect of Encircling Blades on your 2-hand, Conceited on your other dagger, and Stolen Vigor on your second ring. For your stat priority, you want to prioritize cooldown before any other stat, since you want to press your skills non-stop all the time. After that, you can go for max resource, max life, ranks to the Flurry skill, and finally attack speed and overpower damage. When it comes to gems, you want diamonds for your jewelry, as all the resistance helps us become as tanky as possible. You'll also want to slap diamonds into your weapons for more damage with Death Trap, and finally have emeralds in your armor simply for dex. For runes, you'll want Yul Vex and Yul Cax in your armor pieces. The Cax rune is especially important as it makes our Flurry deal 100% more damage, which is your final piece to make this skill hit like a truck. Now let's have a look at the gameplay loop, and it's fairly simple. You'll be jumping in and flurrying literally everything in sight. You'll then spam all of your skills on cooldown every single time. You'll then realize that your hands are cramping, but you just can't stop playing it anyway. And then you'll basically rinse and repeat this to clear all the content and get insanely geared. The way that it actually works though is that you'll spam all of your skills off cooldown to trigger your Quacks rune. Then you'll use your ultimate to spend up all of your resources. Once this rune and ultimate are triggered, it then combos with our Banished Lord's amulet to constantly deal some ridiculous DPS. Your Beastfall aspect and ultimate help you recover your resource back to full most of the time, meaning you'll essentially be melting mobs and recovering your resource all day long to be able to spend it all entirely with one flurry cast. Finally, let's do Paragon very quickly, but remember it is always easier to open up the guide to see where the legendary nodes are rotated inside each board and follow along with it, whether on a second screen or as an overlay in-game. Now for your starter board, you want to slot in the canny glyph, activating and enhancing that with intelligence, so make sure you pick all intelligence nodes around it. Then for your second board, you want to attach the no witnesses board with the devious glyph. Inside this board, you also want to make sure you get the legendary node to increase the damage of your old death trap before going to the left and attaching the cheap shot board. You can then spend a bunch of points here depending on how many Paragon points you have, but here you want to select the closer glyph more importantly, whilst also trying to get the legendary node in the bottom. Then you want to go up and attach the Eldritch Bounty board with the legendary node in the top left corner, which you also want to activate. Inside this board, you want to get the control glyph to deal more damage to chilled enemies, which we will be constantly doing with our cold imbuement. And finally, if you still have some points to spend, we want to go to the right to attach our last board, the Dance Macabre, where you want to get the Pride glyph ready as a simple damage multiplier. Well, that wraps up our video taking a closer look at this crazy fun Overpower Flurry build. If you plan on giving it a try, then don't forget to load up the link to explore and follow the build on our website. And of course, check out those who helped build it with FastAF, Xakary, and of course Sanctum too. Thanks for watching guys, feel free to feedback in the comments on how you found this Diablo 4 build spotlight video, and if you like it, we'll make some more. Take care.